Welcome to Thoroughbred 360, insights, stories and strategy from the commercial world of thoroughbred racing with your host, Bruce Slade. Well, welcome to episode 25, everybody. So much to talk through. A huge volume of bloodstock sold last week at Inglis, Riverside Stables through their Weanling sale and their Chairman sale. High-end stock, but stock at scale. Saw so much, learned so much, and lots to share with you in today's podcast. So let's get underway. Firstly, the Inglis Weanling sale. Huge volume of Weanlings. Obviously, the sale has really grown in size and scale over the past 5 years. Now a solid 2-day sale. I think that's on the back of, a lot of the Hunter Valley farmers where, the biggest population of mares are. This is a sale seen by those studs as a sale that's, I suppose, easier to get to, maybe cheaper to get to. And I must say, just please put an asterisk on this. This is just a perception thing. It may not necessarily be true, but it's just seen as a sale that's easier for those farms to get to. And then, of course, because perhaps a majority of what people are selling are cows or foals, they're not going to reach or make drafts that particular studs are heading to. And another half of what they take in there is sort of good, B plus stock that will trade well and perhaps make yearling sale price at the Weanling sales. And perhaps another quarter of what they're selling is A grade stuff that really is being opportunistic. They're selling into a market where a stallion is very hot, a family's very current, or they've just got a cracking type and they're really trying to stand out and get some cash flow in. So I think on the back of that, a lot of farms are saying, okay, well, we already got half our Weanlings going to Sydney. Rather than split them into 2 drafts, farms are now having to make a decision. Are we going to Inglis and Sydney, or are we going to, Magic Millions in June? That's or later in May, and that's what they're sort of having to toss up, and depending on what stock they've got on the ground. So, like I said, big numbers there. Really healthy trade, an average of 66,000, which was up from a previous record of 54,000. So, significant increase in average. That record, of course, was in 2025 for those Weanlings at this Inglis Weanling sale. It's now gone to 66,000 this year with a really solid clearance rate of 78%. Of course, a sale that's trading at 80% clearance is a really healthy sale. But for the Weanling sale, you must remember those sellers, those breeders, have a couple more options. That's not the end of the road for them. They've got the option to take them through the yearling sale, etc. So it is natural you see a slightly lower clearance rate, but 78% for a Weanling sale, very, very healthy trade indeed. Just a quick reflection of that average price. I mean, $66,000 as a Weanling is pretty much like getting $100,000 at the yearling sales, which is no mean feat. So really healthy average that, if you think about it from a yearling sale point of view. Of course, yearling sales at 100 grand, when you minus, yearling sale commission of 10% versus the 4% here. And when you minus, another $20,000 worth of preparation costs to get to a yearling, when you take on the extra risk of obviously scoping, which is not necessarily done with the Weanlings. And of course, you've got X-ray radiograph costs there as well going forward. So, remembering that a lot of these Weanlings would have to be survey X-rayed at this time anyway. So those are costs that a yearling sale buyers have to incur anyway. So like I say, extra radiograph costs there as well. It's a very healthy trade there. I thought across the board, lots of competition, standout size, obviously home affairs, hot as you like, Sire of the Slipper winner, getting 2-year-old winners every week. And they sold particularly well as a standout. The usuals were very strong as well. Young horses like Animo going really well. Alabama Express selling very well. And all the big boys, Vinny, Too Darn Hot, etc. Of the first crop size, Shinzo really led the way there. Of course, had the sale topping filly and colt. $600,000 for the filly from Neuralim Special Lover and $400,000 for a colt. He led the averages, of course, at $193,000 for his first crop as well. 10 sold, really good effort from the slip winner there. And then a couple of Newgate stallions, King's Gambit and on Ozzmosis. Of course, I'm part of the Newgate team, but they did sell very well. King's Gambit, of course, had a colt make $265,000. 5 sold for an average of $96,000, which is very strong. And Ozzmosis, he had huge numbers there, and that can they can obviously work against you when you're talking averages for these young stallions. I think he was the most represented side there with 21 catalogued, 18 offered. But fairness to him, 16 sold, only 2 passed in. So really good trade on the Ozzmosis. I think he had 4 horses sell for $100,000 or more too, which is good going. When you think about the Weanling sales, I always sort of try and value every horse I see. I see every horse in the catalog, value every horse. And when you're thinking about how to value stock, a stallion that's averaging at the Weanling sales 2x service fee, so 2 times service fee, is doing a really solid job. 3 times service fee, doing an excellent job. So King's Gambit, as I thought, for a 20 grand horse, he's not selling like a 20 grand horse. He's really selling more like a $30,000 horse, a $40,000 horse. And by that, I mean, he's a Group 2 winner on paper, but I think the market's treating him like a genuine Group 1 horse. And for him to average 96,000 was really positive and good to see. Leading buys, well, just on those 2 horses, it was great to see Jim Carrey obviously backed with a whole group of the Newgate crew to go in there and really support those 2 young stallions. Of course, Coolmore did the same with Shinzo, bidding the big filly for $600,000. Obviously getting knocked down under the Tasman bloodstock name, which was cool to see. Of course, Tom Moore, who's a big part of the Coolmore team, his father, Kieran Moore, started Tasman bloodstock, a name we saw plenty in yesteryear in yearling sale and weanling sale and broodmare sale results. So nice to see Tom carrying on the family business there, and a number of nice weanlings knocked down to them. Of course, Stefan Party's SP bloodstock, super strong again. Of course, last year they had the 2 darn hot colt that went on to make over $2 million at the yearling sales, having bought them for 700,000 at the weanling sales. So Stefan, again, probably playing at the pointy end of the market, buying a number of the high quality lots, and really active, and great to see that, of course, having done so well with his pin hooks in 2026 at the yearling sales. Other big buys, Fernreg Farm, Podrig and Ray Louise, they're at Fernreg with the biggest buyer by numbers. I think they walked away with 8 or 9, buying some lovely foals in the mid-ranges, and Sledmere Kangon, of course, Jock with Royston and Treen there, doing what they normally do, just buying lovely horses at the sort of sale average at high volume to input into their drafts for the yearling sales in 2027, and they always do very well, and a nice job with their pin hooks too. But as I said, big cross-section of buyers, really strong trade, New Zealand, all around Australia, and of course some international investment there too. Myself bought a couple of weanlings to race for clients, one for Gay and Adrian, Hong Kong-based client, looking for a nice horse to send up in Hong Kong and hopefully win a Hong Kong derby one day. He was a native trail colt out of a more than ready daughter of Mackay Diva. Lovely moving horse. It looks like he'll get out over a trip in time. And then also bought a Russian Revolution filly for Mrs. Turner in New Zealand to race as well with Benji King. So she was a really big, strong forward black filly that I thought, would be a lovely racing prospect at 2 and 3 and hopefully beyond for the team over there in New Zealand. Of course, this year the Inglis chairman sale followed straight on the back of the Inglis weanling sale. So we had the weanling sale on the Tuesday, the Wednesday. We'd normally have a gap on the Thursday and then have selling on the Friday. But this year, the chairman sale, of course, an evening session on the Thursday night. That change, I thought, was really nice. It just had that carryover from the momentum from the weanling sales, all the people from the weanling sales, not having to think about too much whether they'd stay on to the chairman's or not. Everyone stayed on, did their work on, obviously, the Wednesday, the Thursday, for the 100-odd mares there in the chairman's sale. And it was nice to just have that sort of back-to-back flow-on effect and just kept some nice momentum going. With such a small sale, the chairman's sale, everyone does their work in such a short space of time. It's just not necessary to have a heap of days to look at mares. You only really need a day and a half, really. I looked at everything in the catalogue, but most people, of course, would just be much more targeted with regard to their own businesses. So, yeah, found it easy to get through. And chairman's sale, just a lovely event. Like, this is an event that celebrates success. It celebrates the mares, the fillies that are coming off the track, having really built incredible CVs for themselves as breeding prospects. Of course, also mares that have done a terrific job at stud and covering pregnant or carrying pregnancies to some of the most exciting horses in Australia. And it's just, a wonderful event to celebrate the owners and the connections of those good mares selling, but also a lovely way for buyers to sort of get past the baton on. It is in the evening, as I mentioned, darkness falls, lights come on, the chandeliers were up. There was black tie for all the Inglis team anyway, and a lot of others getting dressed up with at least sports jackets and pants and looking very smart. The red carpet was rolled out. There was bellboys. There was terrific service, lovely food, dinner served, and yeah, a bit of other entertainment. But of course, the main show was those top class mares going into the ring, and trade very good, very solid. I mean, we were heavily involved. We obviously, as part of the Newgate team, we offered 17 mares. We sold 15 of those. Felt like all those mares had a good feel of them going to the sale. They felt like there was people on at all different levels. They had good competition on them. And as I said, it sort of came out of it feeling like we'd sold well, but also felt like we'd bought well. So it's one of those really balanced, even sales. We tried to buy 5, myself alongside, of course, Alan Bloodstock, Stephen Dan Allen, and No Cab Racing 2. Henderson Racing and Breeding were there involved as well, bidding away. And like I say, we tried to buy 5 mares, landed 1 for the Allams, of course, Advanced Party, the dam of this season's Group 1 winning 2-year-old Fireball, which obviously I bought for the Gatt family last year. They were selling her and did very well selling her, but very happy to buy her too on the other end, having known her history, seen her foals, and I'm glad she's still part of the team through Alan Bloodstock, and they'll continue to breed from her. She'll get Extreme Choice this season, and every foal going forward will always be a half to a Group 1 winner, which is exciting for them. As I said, great trade, really lovely sale. This as a buyer, as a seller, it's a lovely place to have clients. It's just a nice feel to it, and if you can be involved there, whether you're selling or buying, like I say, it's definitely worth being a part of, and something we look forward to being involved in moving forward. One of the key takeouts from the chairman sale was this new precedent set by Chayan. This was a filly that was, of course, had only 4 starts, 1 preparation as a 2-year-old. It's shown through her data, through her form, that she was a leading or top class 2-year-old, the leading filly by data, former Rain Streisand, of course, and of course, her Riesling when had her favourite for the Golden Slipper. But her $5.6 million really was a standout in the sale when, proven Group 1 winners like Benedetta and Provence, who were top class Group 1 fillies and mares, were bringing 1.8, 1.9 million. And I think that was just a great showcase of perhaps the value of the racing upside, the amount of prize money on offer now. Of course, a lot of the biggest buyers in the market love the racing aspect of it. That's why they got involved in the game. They love having their colours on race day in leading events. So I think with that filly is going to set a new precedent in the market. People will look at that result and they will be looking to emulate that result going forward. So look out for more race fillies and mares off the track that have got a lot more racing upside in them, as opposed to the likes of the Benedettas and Provences, where they were seen to be at the end of their racing career. Those mares that are selling now with some racing upside early in their racing career, that seems to be where the real topspin on value is moving forward, and expect the market to adjust accordingly. On a racing front, the most commercial results came from the weekend. Of course, this duel between the first crop size Home Affairs and Stay Inside, so exciting. Of course, through the week at Warwick Farm, Stay Inside equaled up with Home Affairs at 5 winners apiece. They've both had 2 stakes winners, and then Home Affairs over the weekend went bang, bang and took himself to a clear outright leader with 7 winners now, first crop winners. Obviously leading prize money as well, as a sire of Guest House to win the Group 1 Golden Slipper. But yeah, nice duel going on between these two. There's certainly room for them both in the market. Great that we've got young horses like this on the way through and doing a nice job. Of course, a big Queensland winter ahead, where no doubt they'll have some of these progressive horses of theirs come through and continue to add value to where they are in the marketplace. But yeah, really cool to see these 2 horses dueling it out. Of course, suited totally different kind of mare. Stay Inside, that reduced choice line, need a sharper sort of horse. He's a horse that, you might want to breed a bit of size into, whereas you might want to breed a bit more size into, and obviously an outcross pedigree. Whereas Home Affairs has, got the size and strength, and you probably want to neaten them up and maybe add a bit of quality and athleticism. And of course, he's doing super well with that Danehill line blood. He does have some Danehill through Flying Spur, his dams by Flying Spur, of course, but I think 6 of his 7 winners have either got Reduced Choice or Fastnet Rock in them. He's been really powerful or productive with that Danehill line, and of course those neat square Danehill line mares really suiting Home Affairs, and that's working beautifully for him. The St. Goddard was a 2-year-old that really impressed on the weekend. He, of course, won the Ken Russell up here on the Gold Coast. It was a good track. Beautiful, relaxed horse in the yard. Obviously, a beautiful type as well, purchased by Coolmore for $2.7 million for their Colt Syndicate. Obviously, a full brother to Switzerland. Got the job done really well. I know, talking to John Kennedy on the way into the races, he did say, the racing manager for Coolmore, that this was a horse that, they were just going to race on and through the winter until he'd had enough, and then of course get him ready for the spring carnival. They have high expectations of him, and we've seen Chris Waller, his trainer, do this before. Take a nice horse to Queensland, blood him, educate him, trip away, warm weather, and then that sort of short let up straight into the Sydney Spring, a Golden Rose, obviously an Everest, the Coolmore Stud Stakes kind of horse as well. They will just assess, no doubt, with Coolmore's Everest slot as well. This horse will be on the list of potentials now. Won really well, and of course the $1 million size produce over 1,400 metres just 2 weeks away. So I'd say you're likely to see him there, providing he pulls up absolutely spot on. They'll be taking no chances with him, of course. St. Goddard, what is that? Well, I did look it up. It was, the Goddard's Pass, as I've read, is a mountain pass in the Swiss Alps that connects the north of Switzerland to the south of Switzerland. And of course, his full brother is Switzerland. So a nice name there, nice connection. But I would say this horse is in every bit in his own right, adding his own value to his own CV, and looks like a horse that a real stallion prospect for Coolmore going forward. Of course, the Ken Russell last year was won by Beedman, son of Snitzel, for the Newgate China Colt Syndicate, of course. Been a horse that's been there or thereabouts through the autumn. Big run in the Arrowfield Stud Sprint, and now a horse after a big win in the Gold Coast Guineas on the weekend that heads to Group 1 targets like the Doomben 10,000 possible to back up the Saturday or the Stradbroke. 1,400 metres with a nice lightweight might be a lovely race for him too. So high class, again, son of Snitzel, both St. Goddard and Beedman, bred, raised at Arrowfield by that star stallion of their Snitzel. Terrific producer of racehorses, Arrowfield, and like I say, these two nice colt prospects that came out of the Gold Coast on Saturday. What else do we like at Gold Coast on Saturday? Great to see Nightline win the Gold Coast Bracelet. This has been a great stepping stone to the Oaks, the Queensland Oaks, and that was a filly by Redwood, a Jerry Harvey bred, that won the race there for Tony and Maddie Sears. And in talking to Linda Huddy on Saturday at the races, she did say that Maddie has been on to her for months about this filly. She said she'll win the Oaks months ago, and she was impressive there on Saturday, and does look like a deserved or one of the deserved favourites for the Queensland Oaks at this stage. She's Got Pizzazz was terrific as well, bouncing back to form. A third stakes win for her on the weekend. She is a daughter of Zoostar. She is a full sister to Mizzy, of course, that great breed, Rob Crabtree breed, and it was terrific to see Rob and his family there on a Saturday for the races. Well done, Rob. Another nice stakes win for a mare heading places, of course, the Group 1 Tats Tiara, no doubt on the horizon for She's Got Pizzazz. On the races, being there at the Gold Coast on Saturday, I just want to touch on the Gold Coast Turf Club, doing a terrific job, of course, had the upgrade of the track. It was a lovely day there on Saturday. Obviously, the weather was very kind to us. Great racing, fair track, quality horses, and Pride of Jenny in the Hollandale. No doubt the Gold Coast Turf Club pushing for that to be a Group 1 race, given the success of the graduates from that race in recent years. But Pride of Jenny, of course, the Gold Coast Turf Club had said before the race, if she wins, we'll be shouting 4X in all the bars at the Gold Coast Turf Club. And I can tell you what, when she hit the top of the straight, 10, 12, 14 lengths in front, the crowd was absolutely raucous, cheering her home. And as she normally does, halfway up the straight, you thought, oh, she looks like she might get caught here, but she just keeps finding and finding and finding in those famous Tobre colours. So well done, Tony. Well done to Kieran Ma. Well done to the Gold Coast Turf Club. Just a fantastic day out there in a nice way. It was special. It was just special to see her race live again, and special to see the crowd and the Australian public get right behind her. Just a quick touch on the most commercial results coming out of South Australia for the weekend. Of course, Group 1 Goodwood Handicap Day. I'll be lying if I didn't say that I was cheering the second horse in the Goodwood Extra Galactic. It was, of course, Trent Edmonds' first ever Group 1 runner, only recently gone out on his own. He and his young family moved to Victoria, and a yearling that Trent picked out himself, Extra Galactic. She absolutely rocketed down the outside, a lightly raced daughter of Deep Field out of Alliterate. Of course, got nosed out by the war horse, Desert Lightning. Peter Moody, Catherine Coleman, well done to all the team there. He's been a war horse in New Zealand, come over to Australia now, of course, and nailed another Group 1 for his CV, the son of Pride of Dubai. So well done to the winners. But yeah, must say, I felt deeply for Trent. I can just so close. But terrific training performance and a young, lightly raced mare that's got so much upside ahead of her. Does Extra Galactic. Another little tip of the hat to the commercial success of Nafar winning the Proudmoor Stakes down there in Adelaide. Of course, this mare was traded through the Magic Millions Broodmare sale 2025 for $400,000 to Silverdale and Andy Williams as aged. She is by Snitzel. She is out of Najmati. She is, of course, a half-sister to Charmstone, this wonderful family, this Emirates Park family. She had a big CV when she was bought, and she's now got an even bigger CV as a group-winning daughter of Snitzel with that huge pedigree behind her. Maybe her value doubled, and certainly she's picked up some race earnings in the past. So hats off, great commercial result. Well done to the Grants, the Pettis, of course, who run the farm there, and Andy Williams for finding her last year and adding so much value to her before she goes to the Broodmare paddock. Well, that's a wrap on podcast 25. Of course, so much to look forward to this week. We've got Scone Cup. We've got the big Friday in Scone where most of the breeding industry will be in that marquee, having a great race day. The Saturday race meetings, full day of stakes races, great racing. Of course, if you are in the area, enjoy the racing, but also make sure you get around some of the farms. They'll no doubt be opening at certain times of the day over that weekend and on the Friday and the Thursday. So if you do want to pop in and see some of the stallions you haven't seen before, make sure you do that. And of course, next week we start thinking about the Magic Millions Weanling sale, the Magic Millions Broodmare sale. Terrific catalogue for both, particularly the broodmares. A long short list of mares there for that sale. Lovely, nice pregnant mares, lovely race fillies off the track too. So looking forward to that sale. We have had a few comments about our audio. So if you've got any feedback this week, we feel like we've got the audio fixed up. But if you're still having troubles with the audio of our podcast, particularly driving, please do sing out. Just let us know what your issue is, just so we can have a look into how we fix that up our end and make it the most enjoyable experience as we can with the podcast. Again, thanks for all the feedback. Please give us a like, give us a follow. Thanks for all the support, everyone. Have a great week.